God sees Nathanael. Union Gospel Press Bible Expositor and Illuminator, Fall Quarter, September, October, November 2025. This will be teaching the lesson through the heart of the lesson for October 19th, 2025. God sees Nathanael. Our lesson text comes from John 1, verses 43 through 51. The related scriptures are Genesis chapter 28, verses 10 through 17, Matthew chapter 3, verses 13 through 17, Luke chapter 24, verses 44 through 48, John chapter 2, verses 23 through 25, and also John chapter 7, verses 40 through 52. The time is AD 26 and 30, and the place is east of Jordan. Our golden text is 1 John 1:48. That's chapter 1, verse 48. And it says, Nathanael saith unto him, Whence knowest thou me? Jesus answered and said unto him, Before that Philip called thee, when thou wast under the fig tree, I saw thee. Introduction. Have you ever heard someone call Jesus just a good teacher? Many of us struggle to reach out to the lost or respond to objections to the faith. This story might surprise us as we find Jesus going to an unexpected place and talking to unexpected people. Jesus did not go where he could have found the best educated and most promising candidates to be his disciples. He went to uneducated Galilee. We also see a disciple who does not answer questions, but still leads a friend to Christ, literally. Additionally, there are Old Testament allusions hiding just below the surface of the text that provide great depth and meaning to the story. This is not simply the story of a random event early in the ministry of Jesus. It provides powerful insight into who Jesus claims to be and how we should respond. Lesson outline. 1. Jesus calls Philip. John chapter 1, verses 43 through 44. 2. Philip invites Nathanael. John chapter 1, verses 44 through 46. And 3. Jesus and Nathanael. John chapter 1, verses 47 through 51. Exposition verse by verse. John chapter 1, verses 43 through 41. John calls Philip. John chapter 1, verses 43 through 44. 43. The day following Jesus would go forth into Galilee, and findeth Philip, and saith unto him, Follow me. 44. Now Philip was of Bethsaida, the city of Andrew and Peter. Philip invites Nathanael. John chapter 1, verses 45 through 46. 45. Philip findeth Nathanael, and saith unto him, We have found him, of whom Moses in the law and the prophets did write, Jesus of Nazareth, the son of Joseph. 46. And Nathanael said unto him, Can there be any good thing come out of Nazareth? Philip said unto him, Come and see. Jesus and Nathanael, John chapter 1, verses 47 through 51. 47. Jesus saw Nathanael coming to him, and saith of him, Behold, an Israelite indeed, in whom is no guile. 48. Nathanael saith unto him, Whence knowest thou me? Jesus answered and said unto him, Before that Philip called thee, when thou wast under the fig tree, I saw thee. 49. Nathanael answered and saith unto him, Rabbi, thou art the Son of God, thou art the King of Israel. 50. Jesus answered and said unto him, Because I said unto thee, I saw thee under the fig tree, believest thou? Thou shalt see greater things than these. 51. And he saith unto him, Verily, verily, I say unto you, hereafter ye shall see heaven open, and the angels of God ascending and descending upon the Son of Man. Preparing to teach the lesson. The theme for this week's lesson is divine self-revelation. The main text and the supporting texts show God revealing himself. Today's aim, facts. To discover that God does not hide his identity. Principle. To realize that God reveals himself in various ways. Application. To think about how God has revealed himself to us. Introducing the lesson. Sharing the good news is an integral part of following Christ. We follow him and invite others to join us. Ask members of the class how they first learned about Jesus Christ, whether it was from a family member, a friend, a total stranger, or a preacher. Most of us came to Christ because someone told us about him. Developing the lesson. Number 1. Philip invites Nathanael to meet Jesus. John chapter 1 verses 43 through 46. Jesus chose 12 men as his main disciples. In our first verse, we see the simple invitation of Christ to Philip, follow me. He was from a town called Bethsaida. This is the same hometown as Andrew and Simon Peter. The Bible records multiple miracles that Jesus performed near there, including his walking on water, Mark 6, and the healing of the blind man, chapter 8. It was also near this town, that Jesus fed the 5,000, Luke chapter 9, verses 10 through 17. Philip quickly went to tell his friend Nathanael. Nathanael is probably another name of the disciple called Bartholomew in Matthew, Mark, and Luke. We can see instant application to our lives. One of the most important things we can do during the days we have on this earth is to tell our friends about the Lord. We can almost hear the excitement in Philip's voice as he told his friend that they had finally found the one who was prophesied by Moses and the prophets. Philip added, he was Jesus of Nazareth, the son of Joseph. We see an instantaneous and honest argument between the friends. Nathanael asked if anything good can come out of Nazareth. It was small, in the middle of nowhere, not near the water or any major city. If you have maps in the back of your Bible, you can find the 3 places mentioned in our text: Galilee, Bethsaida, and Nazareth. But Philip did not give up on his friend. He told him to come and see. Later in John chapter 7 verses 40 through 52, we see another time when people debated whether Jesus is the Messiah. Of course, we know that Jesus was born in Bethlehem, but was raised in Nazareth. But many people who met Jesus may not have known that. Number 2. Jesus knows Nathanael's actions, John chapter 1 verses 47 through 49. As Nathanael approached, Jesus gave him a compliment that likely revealed that he knew Nathanael was proud of his Israelite heritage and the honest life he led. This is also interesting because of the connection to Jacob, known for not being honest, in verse 51. When Nathanael met the Lord for the first time, Jesus said the very things Nathanael wanted to hear. He asked Jesus how he knew him. Jesus then revealed that he knew where Nathanael was and what he was doing before his friend Philip found him. In John chapter 2 verses 23 through 25, we read that Jesus knew all men, and he knew what was in man. This is an interesting aspect of the omniscience of God. When Jesus was on the earth, he displayed supernatural knowledge. This is something we can apply to our lives today. The Lord knows what you care about. He knows where we are in what we are doing. 3. Jesus is acknowledged as deity and royalty. John chapter 1 verses 49 through 51. As soon as Jesus revealed this knowledge, Nathanael declared that Jesus is truly the Son of God and the King of Israel. Notice the difference in Nathanael after he met Jesus. He made the true declaration that will be shared many times and ultimately be used as a charge against Jesus before the crucifixion. Also notice the contrast to the earlier description of Jesus. Instead of the son of Joseph, he is called the Son of God. He is more than a country boy from a rural Nazareth. He is the King. The Lord's reply in verse 50 may have been a bit sarcastic, as if to say, "You believe these amazing things just because I saw you under a fig tree? You will see greater things than that." Jesus told Nathanael in verse 41 that he would see heaven open with the angels of God ascending and descending upon the Son of Man. Yet another title Christ used. This referenced the Old Testament story of Jacob, found in Genesis chapter 28, verses 10 through 22. Jesus was making an obscure comparison between honest Nathanael and Jacob, who cheated his brother. Jesus revealed as the Son of God multiple times in the Gospels. One of the most memorable came from at his baptism. God spoke from heaven to say that Jesus is his Son, who is greatly loved and pleasing to him. Illustrating the lesson, Philip could not help sharing the good news of Jesus with his friend. Concluding the lesson, as we begin our week, let us try to live each moment knowing that God sees every detail of our lives. He knows what we are doing. He knows where we are. This can be comforting, but also convicting. Holy living is a part of being a child of God. If we are not careful, we may find ourselves in situations where the temptation to sin is strong. Let us acknowledge Jesus for who he is, the Son of God and King of the universe. He has proven this time and time again. But even if there are situations in which this is not obvious, it is still true. Anticipating the next lesson. Next week, we will conclude this unit's theme, God is all-knowing, with the encounter Jesus had with the Samaritan woman in John 4. In today's lesson, a disciple brought someone to Christ. In next week's lesson, Jesus goes out of his way to meet the Samaritan woman and offer her everlasting life. Practical points. Number 1. Jesus calls us to follow him unconditionally. John chapter 1 verse 43. Number 2. All the Old Testament points to Jesus. We should read it looking for ways it points to him, verses 44 through 45. Number 3. We should invite others to come to Jesus, verse 46. Number 4. Jesus knows everything about us. We can come to him even when we have doubts and skepticism, verses 47 through 48. Number 5. When we truly encounter Jesus, we will confess that he is far more than merely a man, verse 49. 6. We should expect God to work in mighty, though often unexpected ways in our lives, verses 50 through 51. Illustrated high points. Follow me, John 1:43. Jeff was the son of a fabulously wealthy family in the Middle East. As a teenager, he had his own sports car and horse. When his brother traveled abroad and converted to Christianity, his father was furious. Jeff was sent to persuade his brother to come back, but instead, he also converted to Christianity. In response, his father put a bounty on Jeff, who sought international asylum. Although he gave up millions, he insisted that following Jesus was worth it. We are called to follow Jesus unconditionally, regardless of what it cost us. Come and see, verse 46. A notable professor was a lesbian activist for nearly a decade. While researching for a paper on the religious right, she wrote an article criticizing an evangelical organization. A pastor wrote her a letter and invited her to dinner. She accepted and began investigating Christianity. 2 years later, she converted and left her lesbian partner. Once she began investigating Jesus, she could not resist him. When we meet people who have objections, we should try to answer them. But we should also simply try to get them to listen to Jesus. Because I said unto thee, I saw thee. Verse 50. 3 women in the back row of a church glanced at each other. The visiting preacher did not know them, but he had just described each of them in detail, going down the row in order while giving illustrations. Afterward, one of them came up to talk to him. Sometimes we may get the feeling that a pastor has wiretapped our house, but it is God who knows everything about us and loves us. Golden Text Illuminated, John chapter 1 verse 48. Our golden text is 1 John 1:48. That's chapter 1 verse 48. And it says, Nathanael saith unto him, Whence knowest thou me? Jesus answered and said unto him, Before that Philip called thee, when thou wast under the fig tree, I saw thee. While Deason affirms that there is a God who created all things, it wrongly asserts he is not involved in daily life. The God of Deason is distant, detached, and disinterested in the details of our lives. He is indifferent and virtually irrelevant to the people he has made. How different is the God of the Bible, who revealed himself in Jesus Christ, rather than keeping himself remote and removed from us. The Son, instead, was made flesh and dwelt among us, and we beheld his glory, the glory as of the only begotten of the Father. John chapter 1 verse 14. One bright beam of this glory that was displayed in Christ was the attribute of his omniscience. John 1 presents 4 consecutive days on which Jesus gathered his first disciples. In verses 43 through 51, Nathanael became persuaded to join himself to Christ. What a persuasive power did Christ use to silence Nathanael's skepticism. It was nothing less than the majestic display of his perfection of omniscience. The day before Nathanael met Christ, Philip declared Jesus as the Messiah, reference verse 45. Nathanael, however, scoffed and slighted Christ's hometown, ruling out Nazareth as a place too lowly for the Messiah to come. The next day, however, Nathanael encountered the stranger from Nazareth and had his life changed forever. Upon seeing Nathanael, Christ declared, Behold, an Israelite indeed, in whom is no guile. Verse 47. Nathanael, surprised and confused, retorted, Whence knowest thou me? And Jesus answered, Behold, the glory of Christ. Before that Philip called thee, when you wast under the fig tree, and I saw thee. Verse 48. Notice the first time Christ saw Nathanael. Before that Philip called thee. Christ was already involved in Nathanael's life, even before Philip approached him. Second, Notice the place Christ saw Nathanael. When thou wast under the fig tree, I saw thee. At a specific moment in time and location, Christ saw Nathanael, not merely that he existed, but who he was down to the very thoughts of his heart and the DNA of his soul. From this brief episode, we may derive two comforts for our own lives. Comfort 1. Christ does not just know about humanity in general, but about every individual, and not just that they exist, but their condition, and not the indifferent spectator deity of deism, keeping his distance from the events of our lives. Instead, he is in every moment, watching, sustaining, and always ready to provide for every need. Never hesitate to call upon this near and present Christ. Comfort 2. As with Nathanael, Christ has a plan for his disciples today. And what do disciples do? But make more disciples. Reference Matthew chapter 28, verse 19. In Matthew 28:20, what did Christ declare to those first disciple makers? Lo, I am with you always, even unto the end of the world. Christ is present, not merely for our comfort, but to make us competent for his global mission. Go out into the world and make disciples, and call upon this near and present Christ. Heart of the lesson. It is fascinating to explore the various ways Jesus invited people to be his disciples. Nathanael was won over to Christ in one of the more interesting ways. As we read this story, we see that the supernatural knowledge of Christ was what convinced and converted Nathanael from being a doubter to being a disciple. The scene also furnishes some crucial implications for our lives today. Number 1, Christ's omniscience implies intimate knowledge of the details of our lives. John chapter 1, verses 43 through 48. First, Jesus found and called Philip. Then Philip found Nathanael and told him about Jesus. Nathanael, though, scoffed at Jesus' origins from Nazareth. He could not believe that anything good, let alone the Messiah, could hail from there. When Nathanael approached Jesus, however, he received a surprise, as Jesus seemed to know him already. Nathanael asked how Jesus knew him, and Christ gave this staggering reply. Before that Philip called thee, when thou wast under the fig tree, I saw thee. Verse 40. Christ was not merely aware of Nathanael's existence. He saw him before Philip even called him. Nathanael was already known by Christ before he ever had heard of Jesus. Also, Christ saw Nathanael when he was sitting under a fig tree. Christ even knew the type of tree under which he sat before Philip found him, which reminds us that God sees us and is present with us in our lives as well, no matter where we are. Jesus' nature as God means that there are no details outside of his knowledge. 2. Christ's omniscience implies his deity. John chapter 1, verse 49, part A. Nathanael responded to Christ's astonishing revelation by becoming his eager disciple. He declared, Rabbi, thou art the Son of God. Verse 48. To call him the Son of God may have been a recognition to his identity as God, though Nathanael likely had only a partial understanding of this. He would come to understanding better with time. To be the Son of God is to be the God, the Son, the second person of the Trinity. With all of its challenges to human logic, theology of multiple individualities within the Godhead was not entirely unknown by the Jews in that day, but it was certainly a divisive point for most. Nathanael could perceive that this Nazarene nobody was actually the greatest somebody in history. He was God in flesh. Even if Nathanael did not realize it yet, the omniscience of Christ implies his deity, and his deity reminds us that he possesses all power. 3. Christ's omniscience implies his authority as king. John chapter 1 verses 49 part B through verse 51. Nathanael could immediately surmise that Jesus was qualified to be the Messiah of Israel foretold throughout the Old Testament. He declared, "Thou art the King of Israel," verse 49. Jesus was the long-awaited Messiah. Nathanael's exclamation in no way limited Jesus' kingship to merely one nation. Rather, God had chosen Israel as the source of our blessing for all nations, Genesis chapter 12, verse 3. And only the true King of Israel could bring that to fruition. Upon Christ's second coming, he will take back the entire rebel planet and bring it into full subjection under his holy authority. Yet, he provides great comfort and consolation to our souls today as well. All authority in heaven and earth belong to him. Reference Matthew chapter 28, verse 18. As our omniscient King, he flawlessly rules the universe and our lives. Additional resources: Union Gospel Press Sunday School Lesson by Haven of Rest Missionary Baptist Church on YouTube, and Union Gospel Press Sunday School Lesson Questions by Jordan Christian Center, also on YouTube.